Welcome to the Trump Tater podcast. Today with us is a local Ogden businessman, John Chevalier. Would you tell us a little bit about what you do, John?
I own a big collision center here in Ogden called John Chevalier's Collision Center. We've been in business about 23 years, and we love Ogden, love our economy, and love being here. So thanks for the invite. Great to be here
You're
today.
welcome. Glad to have you here with our Trump Tater.
Trump Tater's awesome.
So, John, have you ever eaten at Brixton's?
I have. Can't beat a good baked potato. Hey, they're the best, right?
So, being someone fond of baked potatoes like I am, owning a baked potato restaurant, and also very fond of President Trump, when people started calling him a Trump Tater like a dictator, I thought, we have to do something about that and turn that around, because I didn't want them to taint either Trump or the tater. So this is what we came up with, is the Trump Tater.
It's a great idea. I like it.
Initially, I thought, well, what is a Trump Tater? So I looked up Trump in the dictionary. Do you know what it said?
I wouldn't have a slightest. It probably wasn't very good, but not dictionary. Probably. Yeah. What was Trump?
Trump means to outclass, outshine, outperform, defeat someone or something. A dependable and exemplary person.
That's pretty awesome.
Isn't that perfect definition?
Sounds just like our president.
It does. And tater means a home run. So we hit a home run with Trump.
I like that.
And so a Trump Tater is, and I would like to change the vernacular of what a Trump Tater is, because it's not a dictator. It is someone who is a winner.
A winner and a hard worker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, we'll start there. The Trump Tater wants to know what your thoughts are on our president.
Well, I think he's the best president we've ever had. And, what he did for this economy and our unemployment and how things were going before the coronavirus is nothing like we'll ever probably see again, actually. He's a great man. He works hard. He cares. He's going to continue his battle. He's going to win the White House. There's no question he's going to win this again. I'm a huge Make America Great. Now I'm a huge Keep America Great, and I'm a supporter all the way. So he's done a great job, and he's done everything he promised us that he would do. So there's really no reason to be a hater.
Exactly.
You should be a tater. So
awesome. That is our motto. That's perfect. And he's definitely had some hate going against him.
Big time.
And so maybe we could take a few minutes and discuss on what you feel that the president and his family has gone through in these last few years.
Well, it's exactly what he says it is. It's one of the biggest witch hunts in political history. And this man didn't do anything wrong. All he did was work hard and give us the best economy we've ever seen. And he cares. I mean, he's a guy that works constantly and he loves this country. And they lied. They made up stories. It was a conspiracy all the way. It was a coup, really. And someday we'll know more about it. But our government has a strange way of hiding things from us, doesn't it?
It does. One of the things I'm concerned about, John, is it hasn't just impacted President Trump and his family, but I feel like this is going to be felt for years and years, decades to come, on good men, especially people in the business community, wanting to put their services out there to help our states or our country, out of fear that they're going to be treated like this by government entities. What is your thought on that?
Well, I think you're exactly right, and I think it's why would you want to go through it? Why would you, if you were a man of Trump status and you were a multi-billionaire, why in the world would you want to do it? He does it because he loves this country. And all we can hope is that somebody like that will come down the road again sometime that really does love this country. The sad thing is, the conservatives never go after the right wing hard and say the horrible things and ruin their lives like the liberals do against the conservatives. And I hate to be a party person and try to pick sides, but people should be treated in a good way no matter who they are and what they are, and they should be innocent until they're proven guilty. And it's not that way on the other side. And when they break the law or do things wrong, there's no restitution for it. When Republicans are innocent, they're persecuted for it. So it's just it's something in our government that we have to change. We change that by voting for our conservatives, voting for our Republicans in the House and Senate. And we hope that we can make a difference in this world again and get back to a real conservative government.
Awesome. One of the things and it's even been articulated among the left, is by any means possible, that the end justifies the means. And we see that with Kavanaugh. We've seen it with conservatives time after, and we especially have seen it with Trump, that no matter how they're going to get there, it doesn't matter as long as they accomplish the goal. and where I think, and Republicans aren't totally innocent on everything, but I think for the most part, Republicans are so focused on their businesses and on raising their family and being community members that they often don't have that time to put that type of mental energy into destroying someone else.
I would agree with that 100%. I think when you're a conservative, you tend to, care about people, and you're honest, and you work hard to try to make life better for people, and I think sometimes the other side wants to cause hate, cause destruction, because what they truly want is socialism, right down the road. That they want everybody to be the same. They don't want anybody to have to work hard. They want everybody to be given what they get in life, and that's certainly not the way I want to live my life. And I think the conservatives in this country are waking up. I really do. I think they're coming around with watching all this, going, man, that other side has just not got it right. And I think when they see how Trump's been treated, I think they understand that he was persecuted, he was lied about. When other president in our history has ever put rallies together with 50,000 people in rallies? It's
one week after another.
Every week. And people lining the roads when he drives by for miles. I mean, that's what the liberals don't understand in this country. That the conservatives don't need to, make great big scenes of chaos. They do big scenes of support. And they're going to support this man. And they're going to come to the voting booth, and they're going to reelect President Trump. I really believe that. And I do everything in my power to support him. And there's a Trump flag in my front yard. And I'm certain that we're going to continue making the change, and we're going to keep America great again.
Awesome. Now, Trump Tater is another question, and it's what should the Republican Party's #1 goal be in 2020? And I'm going to tell you what I feel like it should be, and then you can give me your input. I have for 20 years now, it's been my passion to reach out to African Americans or Black Americans in the Republican Party. Blacks vote disproportionately 10% Republican to 90% Democrat, and that disparity in vote does multiple different things. One, it makes it where the media can frame every issue around race. And two, it really has not empowered the black vote. Their vote's taken for granted in the Democratic Party, and the Republicans haven't really actively sought after the vote because they don't feel like it's achievable. But Trump has reached out and has asked for the Black American vote, and I think he's the first president or first leader in the Republican Party who's actively reached out the way he has to the black community.
He's done a great job with it, and not only has he done a great job getting them more involved. Look at the black unemployment rate; it was one of the lowest it's ever been in history, and I think the black community is seeing how things are changing in their communities. They're not being as repressed, and the capitalism is working for them, and they have jobs, and it's getting better. I mean, you don't fix anything overnight, right? But there's no question, Trump wants all Americans to succeed, and he wants all races to succeed, and that's why he cares about this country. So I totally agree with you on all that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, if by changing the dynamics of the black vote, it really empowers. They make up 13% of our population, but a 30% swing in that vote will change elections, and that really empowers the black community, which I would love to see that happen because it kind of puts politics in play, and I think we'll start really addressing some issues. One of the things we talked about initially is they want socialism, and that's what's existed in many of the black communities throughout our country is socialism, the government housing and food stamps and other things, and they haven't experienced the American dream proportionately the way other Americans have. And now through Trump and through opportunity zones and other things, they're starting to experience the American dream.
Sure.
And so I think for the most part, it's not that left people want to make everything equal I think they want to basically control us.
Well, they want to suppress us.
Yeah,
right?
suppress us and control our freedoms. Anyway, so that I hope that Trump is successful and that the Republican Party as a whole, not just Trump, but governors and other people, it may not happen overnight. We have to actively work consistently on reaching out to the Black American, our brothers and sisters out there, and letting them know that, we have a lot in common. I mean, for the most part, a lot of blacks are very conservative, religious and conservative, are pro-life, And so there's a lot of things we have in common, and we just need to make a consistent effort on reaching out.
I agree, 100%.
So anyway, one thing that's kind of came out of this whole coronavirus has been in this last package, this last dream list that Nancy Pelosi put together, is they're wanting vote by mail. And if you look at what happened in California, we lost 3 seats in California, Republican Party did, because of ballot harvesting. So anyway, I'd like to know your thoughts on voter ID.
Well, we got to have voter ID. We got to know who's voting. We got to know that they really are that person and they're not somebody that's deceased, right? And the only reason the Democrats want to have mail-in voting is they want to swing the election. They want to rig it in their favor, and we just can't let it happen. We gotta keep pushing towards fixing our election and fixing our election process. And I think we're on the right track of doing that in some areas. We just got to stand up against the thought of mail-in ballots. I mean, people can go to the polls. I mean, you can do early voting, and
we already have mail-in
sure.
voting if anybody chooses
wants
to go that
use
direction.
it, but it shouldn't be a mandatory thing,
And it's very costly on top of that.
Sure.
So it's a very expensive process. Something here in Utah that's happened because our caucus was changed. Basically, we used the delegates from 2 years ago. And then we had this online convention. And for this online convention that we had here that we chose our nominees, they did what was called preferential balloting. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard a little bit about it.
So I was a state delegate, and so I continue to be one. And it's really, we've had the count my vote people out there really trying to get rid of the caucus system for a long time. But now I think they're trying to integrate this preferential balloting in a primary. And it's really dangerous because it really does not give a true reflection. So basically, we had like 8 people running for governor. We could easily had 6 on the ticket. We have 4, which is really a hard primary to have 4 people. Someone's going to win with a simple plurality, 30%. Mm-hmm. We had like 12 people in the 1st congressional district. And if people had more time to have gotten the signatures, we would have had a lot more people on both of those tickets. So what preferential balloting does is you just list candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as the candidates start dropping out, then that vote goes to the next one, to the next one. And it sounds like a good thing, but it's really not.
No. No.
And it does not work the way that they try to paint that. But there's a big effort because I get a daily email on this voting system, and they're trying. So be aware that it's going to be coming out. We'll have commercials just like we did on the Count My Vote.
I'll watch for it.
And so I think they're wanting to shift to a straight primary using preferential balloting.
Absolutely.
And what that's going to do is money can buy any election in the future. And it does not equal the playing field. Right now, a caucus system really equals the playing field. That anybody can run for office that's try to contribute to their community, whether they have money or not, through the caucus system. And people don't understand how beautiful it really is.
Well, and I think some of it is it's their way of trying to control the voting process and push it to get rid of the way we vote today and go to a popular vote, which we know that won't work, right? So I think all of that works together with itself for sure.
Well, we saw what happened in California when they went to a popular vote on all their issues.
That's right.
And it's not the kind of state we want to be part of.
Nope.
So a couple of social issues that the Trump Tater's kind of passionate about is, what are your thoughts on our homeless population?
Well, I think, it's a tragedy that we have people living on the streets. And, I never seen that in our community until these last, 6-7 years. And I know in Ogden they've tried really hard to build great facilities to help them. I think President Trump has the idea of trying to educate these people and help them get jobs and get them back to work. I think the biggest thing that drives this is the states where it's really, really rampant in, the cost of living is so out of control because of their socialistic values that people can't afford to live there, and that's what's causing this. That's why there's 100,000 people living in the streets of LA, because an apartment in LA is $9,000 a month. So, they did this to themselves through their democratic ways, and we have to figure out a way to get these people decent paying jobs, good paying jobs, and housing they can afford. And it's a tough situation in some states because they've kind of pit themselves in their own corner.
And Ogden and Salt Lake carry probably the largest portion of our homeless population, and I've worked a lot with the homeless, and definitely in multiple different categories. It's not just everyone's the same, because majority of the homeless people are actually on disability. They get government checks every month, and so I had a homeless advocate come in and call me up and asked if I could feed him and his wife, because they're here to advocate for the homeless. I said, sure, come on down. And so as he was trying to sell me on his advocating for the homeless, I took him to the back of my restaurant, and I said, do you realize I have people camping out here every night? And he asked, well, what's wrong with that? I said, well, I wake up and my employees the next morning have to clean up defecation.
Yeah, terrible.
And it's a anyway, he hadn't thought about it from a business owner's perspective
Sure.
of what it does. So I don't feel people, quote, have the right to be homeless. We have the responsibility to help people in need. But if somebody is on Social Security or disability, they should have a pay, and they can't maintain a home. We should have some type of a payee system for affordable housing in communities that manages that money for them. Because that's really the bulk of the chronic homeless population is on some type of government help already.
Sure, or mental illness is a big play in it.
Mental
Sure.
illness, so they're on disability for that.
Yep.
And then, depending on the economy, it definitely impacts people across the board, but there are certain ways for the chronically homeless that we could find ways to solve that, because they're already getting some government benefits, and to be able to say, look, you have to be able to maintain a home.
Yep.
And we'll help you do that, and we'll help you budget your money and help them in that way.
That would be awesome.
So that's one area that, and I deal a lot with chronically homeless in the downtown Ogden area, and you're kind of close
Sure.
to us, so you understand that as well. Another issue that Trump Tater's passionate about is prison reform. What are your thoughts on prison reform?
Well, as we talked before the show, I don't have a lot of education in Utah because I haven't been involved in the prison system. I've never been in jail, thank goodness, and neither has any of my family. But I didn't really realize until you educated me on some of it. And I obviously, we don't want to put innocent people in jail. We don't want to keep people in jail that shouldn't be there. And sometimes we don't want to put people in jail for the rest of their lives for something that was truly a mistake, and they can be reformed for that action. So I agree with you on what you're trying to do with prison reform.
John, we'll take a break here and hear a message about your business.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey folks, John Chevalier, owner of John Chevalier's Closing Centers. Man, these have been some trying times coming out of this, hasn't it? And we've kept all of our employees, and we've worked really hard to try to get through this. It's affected us, obviously. So as we're ramping things back up, I would ask all of you, if you need some work done on your car, if you're finding those dings and dents, please think about us. We'd like to help you. Most importantly, please stay safe. Keep your family safe. We're getting through this. Things are going to get back. I appreciate your business. Thank you.
Hey, John, I just want you to know I have a few teenagers. So we've had multiple cars taken into your business, and you've always done a fantastic job.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for your business. That's important to us for sure.
So now my last son is graduating from high school, so you probably won't see our business quite as much, but you did get quite a bit of it as they went through all their teenage driving. So we just heard a little bit about your business. We have a few products the Trump Tater wants to tell you about and that we're going to give you as gifts for coming on. We have barbecue sauces. This is called the Fire and Fury Unrestrained Flavored.
Man.
Do you know where that comment came from?
No?
That was what President Trump said to Kim Jong-un when he kept shooting rockets over.
Oh.
And he said, hey, we'll respond with fire and fury.
I do remember that.
Yeah, so anyway, that's what this is named after, and it's a honey habanero.
Okay.
It's really good. And then this is our Bold and Beautiful Make Meat Great Again. So let me know after you try them out on some, and no MSG, no corn syrup. Not only are they delicious, but they're really healthy.
Okay, we're going to give them a whirl. I love barbecue, so that'll be great.
And then we're going to give you a mug. You want to tell the audience what this says?
Well, this is a fake news mug. You gotta love that because we listen to it every single day. So we're gonna have some coffee in that every morning. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's the Trump Tater taking down fake news. And last but not least, we got you a Trump Tater shirt. I probably ought to get this out. Make sure everybody can. So we sell these at our store, just to kind of have fun.
I love it.
But it's the Trump Tater, and it has the Trump Tater definition on the back.
It's perfect.
So I look forward to seeing you in that, John.
We will, for
So,
sure.
I'm going to hit a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
I am.
So we talk about I kind of skimmed over a little bit about the deep state with Comey and Brennan and all those that created this Russian hoax. And we want to blame Democrats for it. But I believe that there's no way Comey and Brennan and Clapper would have gone into this without some nod from Republicans. What is your thought?
Totally agree with that. I think there's no question that Mitt Romney and some of the other people in the Republican Party at the top were involved in this. In the end, they really didn't think that Trump was going to win. They thought it was going to be Hillary, right? And once it happened out of nowhere, they all scrambled to try to figure out a way to impeach him or, tamper the election in the middle of that. And this is all a conspiracy. As our beloved president says, every day this is a witch hunt. And it definitely had some people with both parties involved, no question.
So one of the key players I believe was involved, and again, believe, because I don't want to get sued if that can, but I don't believe they can because they're public figures, is Paul Ryan. And Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney were running mates in 2012, so I feel like they had that great connection there. And if you saw or if you remember, that first year we had the House, we had the Senate, and we had the presidency. Did anything get done?
Well, President Trump did a ton, but the House did nothing. And literally that was the weakest Speaker of the House we've probably ever had. And saying that as a Republican's hard, but it's just true. He didn't get anything done. And I think he just wanted to get out, and he didn't like the situation. And they passed a great opportunity to help the American people.
Well, I think it was more than he just wanted to get out. He intentionally, from my perspective, undermined President Trump's agenda, thinking if he undermined President Trump's agenda, that he would lose his base, and that as these other, the P dossier or whatever you want to, I can't think of how you say that.
Peter Strzok dossier.
Yeah, yeah. As that came out, and as information came out on the golden showers and all these things that they were rumors or things that were made up, came out about Trump, that between that and Trump not accomplishing his agenda, that he would lose his base and that he would eventually resign with all the things that went out against him.
I think you're dead right.
And so Paul Ryan did. He tried one after another, kept telling, we'll pass the border wall funding after this. One of the biggest budgets ever, he talked Trump into passing and signing, saying that we're going to get the border wall in the next budget, and that never happened. So that's just one area, but there was multiple areas that Paul Ryan intentionally undermined Trump in during that term.
For sure.
Then he gave up and he resigned, but now he's a contributor, not a contributor, but on the board of Fox News. And he's at it again, just constantly trying to take Trump down. And you've seen a shift in Fox News since he's been on there too.
I think you're seeing a little battle there, for sure. You're seeing a little bit of a, some fighting among the commentators, should we say? So I have my favorite.
Who is that?
I love Hannity. Got to be a Hannity guy, and I think Tucker Carlson has done an amazing job, and Shannon Breen. That's who I watch the most. They take both sides. They look at it and they come up with a reasonable answer to what should happen. And I'm a big Fox supporter, so it's sad to see some of that going on at the top. But hopefully the Trump supporters and the Fox News Nation will kind of keep that in control. Let's hope.
So we live here in Utah with our wonderful Senator Mitt Romney, and and I happen to be a member of Mitt's faith, but I was really ashamed that he used religion as part of the excuse for voting to impeach, only Republican, as if the other senators in the Senate, the Republican senators, are not deeply religious. I mean, there's many people, multiple faiths, Catholic, born-again Christians, Jewish members of our Senate that are also deeply religious, and yet that was Mitt Romney's excuse, is that being the profoundly deep religious person that he is, that he had to impeach because there was not enough evidence to prove that Trump didn't do that. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, not in the Republican Party. As far as somebody in his statute, it was a terrible thing, and I was very critical of him on Facebook, and I used to be somewhat of a Mitt supporter, but I am very disappointed in how he handled the whole thing. A vote for no with impeachment would not have changed a thing. It would have just showed some solidarity with our president, but Mitt doesn't want that, and he wants to fight this because he wants to be president. He never will be, and there's plenty of Utahns right now that are getting their guns ready to. When I say that, I mean in a financial way, to make sure Mitt Romney doesn't win again when he's up in a couple of years, and I'm going to be part of that crusade.
Well, we interviewed Mike Kennedy recently on the Trump Tater podcast, and he's the one that ran against Mitt Romney last time, and hope to get Mike back in the ring on that. And of course, there could be some others, but we definitely have to find a really good competitor for Mitt Romney. But I think Mitt, the reason that I really feel he was part of this from the beginning is why did he do that vote? And I feel like somebody has something on him that kind of held his feet to the fire on voting against President Trump on this impeachment. Time after time, he criticizes Trump on every, he told us as state delegates that he was a supporter of Trump, that he was friends with Trump.
He ran on that he was supporting Trump.
He ran on it. But before he even took his first day in office, he wrote this horrible op-ed piece out of nowhere against Trump.
Yep.
And every opportunity he's had, he takes that opportunity to be critical of Trump. And he was asked recently, do you think Joe Biden's an honorable man? And yes, he thinks Joe Biden's honorable. But get to Mitt Romney, yet has he said anything since all these accusations of Joe Biden has came out with these women that are all Democrat, not Republican women, all Democrat women accusing Joe Biden? Has he said anything?
It's been crickets. You haven't heard anything from any of the Democratic Party. I mean, they've all been very quiet on some really strong allegations.
I like how you said Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where Mitt Romney belongs.
It is.
He's in the Democratic Party.
He's a Democrat. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad you came on. And one of the things we didn't really touch on, so we'll kind of end on this, is our economy, because that's a big one. What this coronavirus has impacted your business, I'm sure, and businesses around you. And it's definitely impacted the restaurant industry that I'm part of. But even more important than that impact to me is it's infringed upon our civil liberties.
Very much
What are
so.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And, like I said, I was a little bit, lucky that we were considered an essential business, so we didn't actually have to close our doors, but it certainly hurt us immensely. And, the government did not have the right to go shut businesses down. They should have recommended that people social distance and close things for their own health safety. But to do it on a huge scale like they did was very, very wrong. And I think there was a lot of powers to be there that we don't really know about, from the CDC to the World Health Organization and many, many different things. But when this whole thing, the dust settles, we're strong. America's resilient. We're going to come back, and the conservatives of this country are going to fight, and they're going to make sure that people are back to work, and people are going to come back to work, and we're going to fix this. We're going to fix it before the election, and we're going to keep America great.
I love the optimism. One of the things we were told it was just going to be this 2-week flatten the curve. And I think all of us could have supported that. All of us did support that. Hey, we can flatten the curve. We can do anything for 2 weeks. But then it became this open-ended, we don't know when we're going to have a cure. We don't know when this is going to happen. So all of a sudden they changed the game. And then our businesses were just open-endedly closed for a long time, those that were impacted or those that had severe restrictions put on it. So I think you mentioned before the show that people should have the right to go out and patronize the businesses they want to go to. And if they're not healthy, stay at home. Our financial means can be supporting those people who can't get out and function in the economy, and those that can, that are healthy, get out and get our economy going. And there's some risk involved. I'm in my mid-50s and definitely not slender. So I'm probably in that category that could definitely be impacted. I feel like I've already had coronavirus back in February before we realized it was here. But there's a risk out there, and I understand that. And there's people who feel like they're in that category. Stay at home, stay in a protected environment. But those of us who want to go out there and keep our economy going strong, the amount of people who are going to die from lack of food, with our food chain being interrupted. And then if you look in the Middle East and in Russia, they're completely dependent upon oil production, and the prices of our oil have just tanked. So those countries are going to really feel some economic impact and hunger. It's going to trickle down in that way. So It's the government choosing, how people are going to be impacted.
Absolutely. People unfortunately are going to pass away, and they're going to have their illnesses, and they're going to do this and that. And what we're not looking at is, unfortunately, people pass away in this country every day. And we've now blamed this on a virus, and yes, it's had impact. But I believe when this whole thing comes to bed, it's really going to be a minute situation that could have been handled differently. And I still think there might be a little conspiracy theory behind some of that too.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. 2.9 million Americans pass away every year. And for the same time last year as this year, we've had no additional American lives lost. So I don't want to minimize anything that healthcare workers or people who've lost somebody to this disease, but we lose people every year from car accidents, and we make the decision as Americans that we're willing to have so many deaths on our highway to have the speed limits that we have. We lose people to obesity every year, but we don't take away people's freedom to eat the way they choose to eat.
Correct.
We lose people to lung cancer, but we don't take away people's freedom to choose to smoke. We lose people to alcoholism. We lose people to all types of diseases
Drug
that are preventable.
addictions.
Parachuting, you see that all over here in Ogden, hang gliders. There's accidents that are for high-risk sports enthusiasts.
Sure.
But we don't tell them they can't do that.
That's right, because it's America and we have freedom. And it's certainly been infringed on, I believe. But I think that you're seeing America stand up right now, probably as we speak, and people are saying, I'm done, I'm opening my business and I'm going to go back to work. And I think the conservatives will do exactly that. I believe it.
So anyway, thank you for being in the Trump Tater podcast, and thank you, John.
Thank you for having me. Oh yeah, social distancing.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, and thank you.
We're going to close with our motto.
Okay.
So if you pick up your sign, I'll pick up mine. Is be a tater. You can't have it in front of your face though. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Be a tater, not a hater.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey folks, John Chevalier. As being a small business owner in these trying times, I understand just how hard this has been. So as we're wrapping things back up and the things are coming back alive in our community, I would beg of all of you to support the locally owned businesses, from tire stores, body shops, to restaurants and bars. They need your help. Their employees need your help. So in these times, please support our local businesses and stay safe. Thank you.